welcome. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Lauren. I will be walking you through a abs and toning class, so a fitness class focused on, we're going to do a little bit of upper body, but mostly abs and legs. And you will need a band, or I'm going to be using two bands. This one is a little bit lighter. I'm going to use this for my arms. This one's a little bit thicker and heavier. I'm going to be using this for my legs. If you've got just one, that's fine, but you do need a band of some kind for this, and preferably one of these TheraBands that's tied in a loop. The ones with the handles isn't really going to be able to get at what we need for today. So it needs to be something that's got a loop to it. Okay, so we will be coming back to these momentarily. Here, let's just start by warming up. So let's start marching. So when you're warming up, you want to be moving as much of your body for at least 5 minutes. So I'm not super particular about what the movements are. If you have something that you would like to do instead, you're welcome to do that, but you want it to be dynamic. You want it to be fluid. You want there to be movement. I've seen some home workouts, they're all getting posted right now, where there's a lot of static stretching, things like where you're holding it still. That's appropriate at the end of the workout, not at the beginning. So when you do something like that, whether it's for your arms, your legs, whatever, you're pulling at a cold muscle, and that's not really the safest route. So move. So let's start again. Let's just start here by marching for a little bit, standing up tall, relaxing your shoulders, but pumping the arms. Good. Okay. And as we go through the exercises, I've got my watch set. It'll beep every minute 15. You'll hear 3 short beeps. That's like a countdown, and then a long beep. That's when we'll switch from one exercise to the next. Not to be confused with the construction that's going on right outside my building, where there's lots of beeping and sounds of trucks backing up. I will be sure to really let you know that the beep is my beep and not that beep. Okay, so beep, standing up tall, and then lift your knees up really high. So come into a high knee march. Get your knees up as high as they'll go. Keep lifting your chest, keep lengthening through your spine, and then rotate like you're reaching your elbow across your body for the opposite knee. So we want to twist in the spine and warm up here in your core, in your abdomen. So you continue to stand up tall. Oftentimes as we get here, we start to slouch. So stand up tall, reach the elbow for the opposite knee. They won't touch. If they do, I would put money on it that you are slouching. So stand up tall, reach up through the chest. Let's stay for 4, 3, 2, 1, and then come to hamstring curl. So now your knees are going to stay low, but you'll deeply bend the knees, heels to the backs of the thighs. Stand up tall and pump the arms. So let the arms come out to the sides. So we're really, aside from planks, we will do a plank later, that certainly works your arms and shoulders and chest, but really we're only doing one other exercise for our upper body, and it's for our shoulders. It's going to be for our rotator cuffs. So make sure that you are really allowing that movement to come forward and back. Rotator cuffs are often the site of injury, myself included. So we want to really make sure they're warmed up before we ask them to do that work. Let's stay for 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's come to squats. So feet hip distance, lower, lift, lower, lift. So throughout the workout, again, I've got the timer set. You should be able to hear it beep, but just in case, I will be counting it down anyways. And I don't have any music playing. Posting stuff on YouTube always runs into copyright issues, so I would suggest putting some some music on while you're moving. Otherwise, it starts to get kind of boring. So you might want to put on some tunes in a few moments. Okay, let's do 4 more squats, 3 more squats, 2, and now here, 1 more squat. Come on upright, come on, stand up tall. Let's run in place. So it's like you're running in place, sort of like a boxer shuffle. So you're shifting your weight right to left, staying light on your feet, so light on your toes and the ball-mounts of your feet. Your heels never touch the ground. So shifting your weight right to left, maybe sort of pump through the arms or keep them up like a boxer. Whatever you need to do, but I want your heart rate to come up here. So here especially, heart rate up, breath is labored. You might start to break a sweat. We want all of that for the beginning. So again, getting everything moving from fingers to toes. Everything is starting to work. It knows what's coming. Let's take for 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back to a march. Keep moving your feet, pump your arms. And let's move the arms one more time. Swing the arms back and forward. Cross right over left, left over right. Keep standing up tall. Lifting through the chest. Letting the shoulders relax, arms just sort of swing. Let's stay for 3. Let's stay for 2. 1 more each way. Okay, and then let your arms relax. Okay, so again, maybe put some music on, whatever you need to do. We're gonna start with our rotator cuff. So for me, I'm gonna use the band that's got a little bit more give to it. It's not quite as tight, but again, if you've got one, that's perfectly fine. All right, so you're gonna wrap it around your forearms, and for this, ideally, you would have a little bit of wall space. You don't need a lot, you just need a little bit more than sort of shoulder distance. I'm just gonna come right here. But you've got it on your forearms. As we're going through this exercise, your forearms need to continue to look like the number 11. Sorry, I'm setting the timer. So, oh, sorry. So your forearms need to continue looking like the number 11. They're gonna wanna start to sort of make this like capital A shape or triangle shape. We need to keep them at a number 11, okay? So fingertips to the elbows, make a straight line. I promise you, as you go through this exercise, next thing you know, your arms will make this, again, sort of TP triangle shape. They need to stay parallel. Okay, so you're gonna come up to the wall. I'm gonna have my back to you for this, but I will try my best to cue it. So your forearms are up against the wall, pinky fingers up against the wall, palms face each other. Elbows make a right angle, forearms parallel. Now, the right arm, bring it over to the right, just a few inches. Left, bring that over to the left. Right arm in, left arm in. Right out, right in, left in. We're gonna stay with this side the whole time. Right out, right in, left in. 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 So you're gonna start to feel this in your rotator cuff, in the muscle that does this movement, obviously, and helps rotate your shoulder. So we often think about our shoulder muscles shrugging and lowering the shoulder, or lifting and lowering the arm. Those are different muscles. The shrugging is the traps, the lift and lower is the deltoid. This is your rotator cuff. We very infrequently work these muscles when we're even in group classes. 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're gonna come back to the other side later. Now we're gonna switch to legs, so I'm gonna swap out my band, but again, if you've got one, just stick with it. And you might wanna grab a spot by the wall again for this one, just for balance. You're gonna place the band over your calves and shins, so between the knee and ankle, not on a joint, just between. And again, you might use the wall for some balance, that's fine. Shift your weight into your right foot, pick up the left. Left leg is gonna stay long, but kick it to the side and return. Right to the side and return. Out to the side, return. Okay, so look down at your feet. Make sure your feet always look like the number 11. That left leg, as it goes to the side, it should not turn to the side. Toes will always face forward, whatever forward is for you. Top of the mat, towards the camera, whatever that is. All 10 toes are pointing in the same direction. Now your right leg is working hard because it's got all of your weight in it, and you're putting all of your, again, the weight of your body in that leg. So make sure that the weight is back in the heel. You've got just 6 more seconds, and we're gonna stay with this exercise. Just switch sides. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so you probably felt most of the work in the standing leg. So we'll do the same on the opposite side. So I'm actually gonna move over here. So push your weight firmly back into the left leg, right leg lifts up off the ground, pull it out and draw it in, out, and in. Now all 10 toes continue to point forward. Your feet continue to look like the number 11. The right toes should not point to the right, because then you're going to be working a different spot in your body. You're really going to be working the space that is facing away from the standing stable leg. So if you start to turn your toes away, now you're going to work the front of the leg, and that's not the space we want to work. I want you to feel the work in the outside of the thigh, outside of the leg. So both legs working, but you'll feel it differently in each side. So toes all point forward. Your weight is back in your left heel. You can wiggle your left toes. You're standing up tall. Even if you're holding onto the wall, your shoulders are relaxed. Lift your chest. Keep taking deep breaths. You've got 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, keep the band where it's at. Again, you might use the wall for balance. For this one, that's fine. Feet hip distance, they look like the number 11. We're gonna come into calf raises. So we're not even using the band, just leave it there for later. So we're gonna lift the heels up off the ground as high as they'll go, and then lower back down. Let your heels hover over the ground, come right back up. So never let your heels touch the ground here. Keep the heels off the ground the whole time. They might tap the ground or hover over the ground, but try to keep your weight in your toes and in the ball mounts of your feet the whole time. So instead of sort of allowing your weight to all drop back, keep it forward in the toes, forward in the ball mounts of the feet. Focus on calf raises. So maybe you use something for balance and maybe you don't. That's your call. But really lift your heels up away from the floor, stretch through the bottoms of your feet, and lower down nice and slow. Really resist gravity. So instead of letting your heels slam into the ground, lift and lower with a lot of control. We've got just 15 more seconds here. We're gonna do 2 more exercises with the band for our legs. And then of course we'll come back to that exercise for the opposite rotator cuff. And then we're gonna come down to the mat. So we've got a lot more mat stuff today. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so keeping the band right where it's at, come to one side of your mat. We're gonna come into lateral squats. So you don't have to stay on your mat. I'm just gonna stay on my mat so you can see me still, so I'm still in the frame of the camera. But take your feet about hip distance, maybe a little wider. Sit down and back. You're gonna stay low, but start taking steps over to one side. And once you run into the wall or whatever, go back the way you came. So we want to make sure that as you're here, you're sitting down and back. I always like to think like this one, it's like you're sliding along a bleacher in a stadium. You're not getting up and down, up and down. You stay low. Again, like you're sliding your seat along a bench or along a bleacher. So you stay low throughout the movement. You can wiggle your toes throughout the movement. Weight is back in the heels. And you're keeping your chest lifted and avoiding the temptation to let your torso sway side to side, because this takes away. So your torso should stay upright. Think Eliza Doolittle, could you balance a block? Or I'm sorry, a book? I do that with students sometimes. I take a block, a yoga block. Could you balance a block or a book on your head without swaying? Okay, so one more similar to this. This time you're gonna face your mat or face whatever direction you're coming to. We're gonna come to the monster walk. If anyone's ever done physical therapy for their legs, they've done this. So back in that squat again, weight in the heels, you can wiggle your toes. Right foot, bring it into the left and step forward at a diagonal. Mat distance apart with the feet. Left leg, bring it in and out. In and out. So it's like your feet are tracing a zigzag line. Once you come as far forward as you can, go back, but keep facing the same direction. So outer thighs, outer hips, outer glutes are going to be working. And when you come forward, quads are working. When you come back, we're focusing more on hamstrings. So again, you're going to be working the muscle that's pushing into the band and in the direction you're traveling. So you're always facing the camera or the top of your mat or whatever, but you're traveling forward and back, and your feet make this zigzag pattern. Really take your feet wide, mat distance, if not even wider. Can you get your feet at the edges or just off the edges of your mat? Really work hard through the glutes. 3, 2, 1. All right, you can get rid of the band off your legs for a moment. We are gonna come back to it, but we're gonna come back to the arm exercise. So I'm switching bands. Again, you're gonna use some wall space. And you're gonna start by dropping the left to the left, right to the right. Left in, right in. Left out, right out. Left in, right in. Left out, right out. Left in, right in. So continue moving at your own pace. Make sure that forearms look like the number 11 and that elbows are at a right angle. Don't let the elbows sag and slide down. Lift the elbows up so elbows are at the height of the shoulders. So elbows make a right angle, forearms look like the number 11. And again, you're gonna feel this in your rotator cuff, which is a group of muscles deep in the shoulder girdle. So your traps and your deltoid are very superficial, they're right under the skin. The muscles we're working now are deep in the joint. This is gonna be a different feeling. Even if you do weightlifting, oftentimes this space gets neglected. You've got just 4 more seconds. We're coming down onto the mat. 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're coming down onto the mat. We still need the band. We're coming to legs. So I'm gonna use my heavier one. And this time you're gonna place the band above your knee, over your thighs. Okay, so about mid-thigh. Lay on one side. Okay, your torso is a long straight line. Knees are bent. We're gonna keep the feet together, but lift the top leg up and drop it down. Lift it up, drop it down. Okay, so I want you to focus on keeping your hips stacked. Oftentimes the top hip comes forward or leans back, so keep it upright. When I was new to this exercise, I actually used to do it with my torso and my lower back and my hips resting against a wall, so I knew that I wasn't leaning forward or back. And you're welcome to do that. Sometimes we don't have that much wall space somewhere, like I don't, right around me, but imagine that your lower back is up against a wall and your lower back is vertical. So along the wall, not caving forward or rolling back. We're gonna keep the feet together. 3, 2, 1. Okay, now we're gonna come onto our stomach. Keep the band where it's at. We're just gonna do something symmetrical before we come to the second side. So we're just gonna come flat onto our stomach. Arms out at diagonals. So from up overhead, you look like a capital Y. You're gonna keep your neck in neutral, so look down towards your mat throughout the exercise. Relax your legs, but lift your hands, arms, head, neck, chest, and shoulders. Lift your upper body as much as you can. You still look like the letter Y. Now, draw your elbows back towards your ribs, towards your hips, bending deeply at the elbows. Your arms look like a capital W. Now lengthen back out to the letter Y and lower down. Lift, draw elbows back, lengthen arms forward, lower down. Lift, elbows back, arms forward, lower down. Keep moving up, back, forward, down. Now keep the back of your neck long throughout this movement. You're looking down at the top of your mat. There should be no wrinkles in the back of your neck. And you're keeping your shoulders away from your ears, throat, neck, and jaw relaxed, muscles of the face relaxed. You should feel this in the backs of your shoulders, your upper back, and mid back. Okay, so we've got the clamshells on the second side. I'm gonna turn around so I'm still facing the camera, but you could just roll over. So we're gonna do those clamshells on the side we haven't done yet. So, position your head, neck, and shoulders however is most comfortable. Knees bent, feet together as you lift and lower, lift and lower. Okay, so hips are stacked, again, as if you're leaning up against an invisible wall. So making sure that the top hip isn't rolling forward or dropping back. Okay, and you keep the feet together. Slowly lift and lower that top leg. You're gonna feel both legs working, but certainly the outer part of the thigh and outer part of the hip and the top leg. But the right leg is stabilizing. I'm sorry, that's my right leg. Your bottom leg, whether that's your right or your left, is stabilizing either way. So you'll feel this in both legs. And again, we're getting into the outer part of the hip, outer part of the thigh. So the hip abductors, the glute medius, maybe even glute minimus, working those spaces that very infrequently get worked otherwise. 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're gonna come onto our backs. We're gonna keep the band for just one more exercise. So we're gonna come down onto our backs. Knees bent, feet flat. Okay, Feet about hip distance apart, maybe a little bit wider. Arms alongside your body, palms down. We're coming to a bridge. So tuck your tailbone, draw your belly button towards your face, create a wrinkle in the front of your shirt, and then slowly lift up. We're gonna stay lifted. So keep your hips up. Really reach your hips to the sky, squeeze your glutes, really pinch your backside. Now push the heels down into the floor to lift up, and now pulse out with the legs, out and in, out and in, out and in. So it's a small movement. Make sure that your knees don't come too close together. We don't want them knocked in. We want the knees a little bit wider than the feet and then over the feet. So make sure that the knees don't knock in so that your shins don't make that TP shape or that triangle shape. We want to keep the lift in the hips, squeeze the glutes, pinch the backside, and draw the knees out wide. Slow and controlled. Just 6 more seconds here, and then we're done with the band. Then we're totally, completely done. 3, 2, 1. Done with the band. Sorry, the timer cut me off. We got several more exercises, but we are done with the band. All right, we're gonna come back into our stomachs, or set up in tabletop, really. So this is our plank, a more traditional plank here. So you can be on your forearms, you can be on your hands, makes no difference to me, but I want you to come into some version of a plank. So whether it's your hands or your elbows, they're right under your shoulders. You're gonna lift yourself up so that maybe you're on your toes, maybe you're on your knees. If you're on your knees, deeply bend your knees to come off the kneecap, come off the patella, and come closer onto the thigh bone, onto the femur. So you might be on your knees, but just make sure that your hips aren't creased or bent. From the crown of your head to your knees, you're a straight line. Okay, but you might be on your toes. You might have your feet hip distance. You might have your feet together. Feet together is harder. Now you're gonna firmly push your hands into the floor to lift your chest up. Spread the fingers wide. You've got 15 more seconds here. You can do it. Then we're gonna come onto our back, but keep pushing the hands down, lifting the chest, lengthening the spine. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, come onto your back. Now here's where we'll do some more abdominal work. Okay, so lengthen your legs out long. Really think about pushing your feet into the floor, just your heels, like by your Achilles and your calves. Push your feet into the floor. Reach your fingertips up and overhead. Inhale as you start to slowly lift up off the mat. Exhale as you work your way all the way up to a seat. Round through your spine. Think from the side, you look like a candy cane, long and straight at the bottom, rounded and curved at the top. As you slowly come down, let your thumbs tap the ground up overhead, and inhale, slowly rise. Exhale, finish it through. Inhale, start to lower. Exhale, finish it through. So truly with this movement, the slower the better. If as you're on your way up and you get stuck, that's very normal. I got stuck with this first one. You might dig your elbow into the ground or grab onto the backs of your thighs. Don't swing back. That's using momentum. You don't get stronger from that. So stay with it for just 3, 2, 1. Okay, now stay all the way out on your back. Hug your right shin in towards your belly. Try not to interlace the fingers, just stack the hands on the shin. Let the left leg float up off the ground. Inhale, lift head, neck, and shoulders. Exhale, switch the legs. Inhale, switch. Exhale, switch. Inhale, switch. Exhale, switch. Head, neck, and shoulders are lifted off the ground. You peel the shoulder blades up off the mat as much as you possibly can. You keep the upper body still. Avoid the temptation to rock and sway through your torso. We need to keep the torso still. Arms and legs move, abs engage, throat, neck, and jaw relaxed. Now you can kick your foot low to the ground or kick it up high. Higher is easier, but maybe you drop the feet a little lower. So keep hugging one knee in as you kick the other one out. Doesn't matter to me if your feet are pointed or flexed. In yoga, we often say flex. Pilates, they say point. Fitness, they just want engagement. So there's no right or wrong, but engage the feet somehow. Hug one knee in, kick the other one out. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. All right. Okay, we've got just 2 more, and we're gonna work the lower part of the abs. So you're gonna bring your hands underneath you so you're sitting on the backs of your hands. Relax your shoulders and arms. Lift your feet up overhead. Reach the feet for the ceiling. Keep the legs long. Inhale, lower the right leg, let it hover over the floor. Exhale, bring it up. Inhale, let it lower, hover over the floor. Exhale, bring it up. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Now, if this is not hard enough, you can do scissor kicks where one leg is lifting as the other one lowers, that they're both moving in opposition. Make sure you're pushing your ribs down into the floor, lower back down into the floor. If you still need more work, feet together, lower and lift together, but ribs down, legs straight, abs taking on the work, not your lower back. If you feel this in your lower back, step it down a level or make the movement much, much smaller and slower. We want this to be slow. Moving fast here does not mean you're working harder. It truly does not. Okay, notice that you felt that in your lower abs. We're gonna add on to that. This is our last movement and then we're done. So hands underneath you, feet up overhead, feet stay together this time and they stay long. Inhale as you go to the right and trace a circle. Exhale, finish the circle through, pause at the top. Inhale, go to the left. Exhale, finish the circle through, pause at the top. Inhale, make a clockwise circle. Exhale, make the counterclockwise circle. So go clockwise and then counterclockwise, back and forth. Now the larger the circle, the harder this movement is. So maybe the circle is small, like the size of a basketball or volleyball. Maybe the circle is large, maybe it's the size of a hula hoop. Now, it's up to you, but you've got to keep your ribs down and your lower back down into the floor. You should only feel this in the front of your body, only in the front, not in the back at all. Relax your shoulders, relax your arms. You've got just 12 more seconds here. This is our last exercise and then we will stretch. So keep breathing, keep moving, keep the ribs down. Core engaged, 3, 2, 1. All right. So take a full body stretch, reach your fingertips and toes in opposite directions. Now here it's okay to let your lower back and your ribs and your chest really lift up off the ground. Now think about coming into a back bend. So keeping your seat heavy and your shoulders heavy, but lift your ribs. So from the side, your spine sort of looks like a rainbow. So come into a little bit of a back bend. Take a deep breath. Okay, and then let your ribs relax. Bend your knees, feet come flat onto the floor. Bring your right ankle to the top of your left thigh. Now softly flex your right foot to protect your right knee. You're welcome to stay here or hug both hands around the left thigh and hug the left thigh in. If your left foot comes up off the ground, softly flex that foot. Protect that knee. And now let yourself relax. Let yourself soften a little bit. You spent the last 30 or so minutes working hard, but can you soften? Can you relax? Can you feel a comfortable stretch? Stay for 2 more breaths. Now keep your legs as they are, but release your hands. Let your arms come out in opposite directions, palms up. Let the left foot come down onto the ground. We're gonna stay with this side. So cross the right leg all the way over the left like you would if you were sitting in a chair. Thighs are stacked, there's no space between your thighs. Scoot your hips 2 to 3 inches over to the right side and let your legs fall over to the left. Now crossing the legs is gonna deepen the sensation in your spine and it's gonna add something to the outer hip and outer thigh. If that's uncomfortable, you can stack the legs, you don't have to cross them. But if it feels good to cross them, stay with it. And it might feel good to turn at your neck to look over your right shoulder. And then just let yourself really rest here. Let yourself soften.
Let this be a passive pose where you're not putting in any effort. Take 3 more breaths here. And if your head is turned, slowly return your head to the center. Slowly return your legs back to the center. Uncross your legs, recenter your hips. Bring everything back to neutral and just take a deep breath. And then bring your left ankle to the top of your right thigh. Softly flex the foot, protect the knee. You can stay here, or bring both hands to the back of the right thigh, hug the right thigh in, flex the right foot. And then let your shoulders relax and feel heavy on the floor. Let the back of your skull feel heavy on the ground. Feel a comfortable stretch through your left glutes. This was the space that was working every time we did a squat, every time we did those bridges. So let it open for 2 more breaths. Okay, keep the legs as they are, but release the arms. Let the arms come out in opposite directions, palms up. Let the right foot come down on the mat. Let your left leg cross all the way over. No space, no gap between the thighs. Scoot your hips 2 to 3 inches over to the left. Let the legs fall over to the right. You don't have to keep the legs crossed. Again, it will be more in your spine and create a stretch through the outer hip and outer thigh on the left side. It's meant to be comfortable, but if it's too much, you don't have to do it. And you might turn your neck to look over your left shoulder. But allow this to be, again, a passive stretch where you're not working, you're not squeezing, you're not exerting your muscles in any way. Let yourself really just enjoy this twist. Twisting helps us stretch and lengthen all the muscles of our abdomen and in through the torso. So let any of that stress or gripping or holding that your muscles were doing, let it wash away. Take 3 more deep breaths. And slowly return the head to the center. Return the legs, uncross the legs, recenter the hips. Bring everything to neutral. Take a deep breath. Inhale. Exhale, hug your knees into your chest. You might rock side to side or trace circles with your knees. Maybe point and flex your feet, do some ankle circles. Whatever feels good for about another breath. And then our last movement here, it's a play off rolling like a ball from Pilates. So I like to grab onto the backs of my thighs. I think in Pilates they grab onto the shins, so that's why it's a little different. But tuck your chin into your chest, make yourself the tiniest little ball that you can, and rock and roll along the length of your spine, like you're gonna come up to a seat, but you change your mind at the last second. So really like you come all the way up, and then all the way back. Protect the neck. We wanna stop at about C7, that really big bony one. Do this 1 or 2 more times, really round through your spine. Make your spine look like the top part of that candy cane. And then make your way up to a seat. And you are all set. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for following along. Keep moving, keep doing your thing, and I hope to see you really soon. Thank you. Bye.